guys, today we are here on the IX podcast. This is episode 4, and I have with me a good friend of mine, business partner, Jason Anderson, founding member of the Debt Council for the Debt Box. And Jason, thanks for graciously coming out. I know we got a lot to talk to, so and I know some people may know you, may not know you, so I kind of want to go in a little bit about your background as well. And so maybe kind of start off introducing yourself, and at least for everybody that hasn't got the opportunity to meet you, whether in Debtbox or IX or around the world, just let them know who you are.
Sure. Well, it's been a pleasure to be invited up. I apologize it's taken so long to get up here. I've actually met quite a few of your leaders one-on-one, but it's kind of nice to put something together to get out to your base and kind of run. My background actually started in finance and fixing and flipping houses, and I got involved in the money side of it because it was easier at a younger age to basically make money writing a check than it was to physically,
doing the hard work.
Doing the hard work.
Yeah.
And then let alone, you look at the decades past, I'm definitely back in the hard work. And, we raised a fund. We did a lot of venture capital work and got involved with a lot of companies, fixed and flipped the companies at that point in time. I got into West Africa almost 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And we went over there originally to actually start fixing some of the problems in the supply chains with gold. And we went over there with one direction, and we went a total different. We went over there to actually, pick up gold and do co-ops type of things out in the villages and buy the gold at a good price, so they didn't have to come into town and then sell it either in town or bring it back to the States and mint it and sell it here. And the supply chain was such a problem, it actually didn't work out real well. Yeah. And so we ended up start mining. Yeah. And that had its own issues coming in and out. But throughout the years, we obviously get better at certain things. And being there so long, we got a lot of good relationships. And we met the people. And we actually fell in love with the country in a way that most people look at Debtbox as it's a year-old project. Mm-hmm. And, we just kind of passed our year from our official launch of Black Gold in November. And, people look at it and say, oh my gosh, there's a new project. How are you doing all of these things? And the truth is, it didn't happen in a year.
Yes.
The truth is
overnight success, but it's 15 years in the making.
It's 15 years in the making.
Mm-hmm.
This is really everything that we've basically done in the commodity sector for decades. And even in the fund, we invested in a ton of commodities. And this kind of got to a place in time where it just fit. And we've been involved with crypto back with Bitcoin and Ethereum mining. We've done several other small projects in that here locally. We've seen some ugly things, obviously, in the crypto market. Yep. And we just know that there's a solution when you put real projects, real value, real assets, and real people behind it. There's some value to understanding that there's something more than a crapcoin.com going out there trying to put people into places where they just want to pump it up. And then, with most tokens, the owners have so much of the token that they can basically do a rug pull at any point in time they want. Mm-hmm. And that's what I really like with what we put together, because combining revenues that come in every single month, regardless of which one of our projects you get involved with, there's always a baseline. It's different than any other crypto project out there. We are doing something that no one else has ever done. And I think that's really important to kind of understand in the tokenomics of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk, sorry to interrupt you, but let's talk a little bit about kind of the idea of debt and the debt box, and mm-hmm. where did it come from, and what is kind of, what's your end goal? I know what it is, right? Mm-hmm. We've kind of sit down and talked, and I think me and you and your family, we have a really, going out to Ghana for me was a really eye-opening experience to kind of see where your guys' intentions were and your hearts were. And I think the way I look at it, there's the two sides to debt, like we were talking about. There's the physical side and there's the digital side. The physical side started 15 plus years ago with you guys going into Ghana and starting to acquire a lot of the underlying assets or relationships, even connections for now the digital side, where the technology is now caught up to where this type of project is now possible. And so I know you're starting to talk about the technology and a little bit of kind of what the main purpose of creating a box or creating a blockchain or creating an ecosystem that can help people around the world.
So, obviously when you get into the different commodity sectors, I mean, everybody buys gold, especially in some parts of the world. It's a show of wealth. It's a show of status. In America, it's more of diversification of a portfolio. But most people look at a coin they get from any one of the nice websites or infomercials you see. They're marked up by 20 or 30 or 40% even. So you got to wait for the gold price to even catch up with the coinage price, and they try to make it rare, and it's these limited editions that came out of the stockpile 40 years ago that are in mint condition. And the reality is you can do all of that. And I suggest people diversifying in everything. But with crypto, it gives the ability for the average individual to participate in something that is greater than just the underlying asset. It's getting involved with a technology that puts a supply mechanism in place, a demand mechanism put in place, and they can come along and earn rewards every single day just by being part of the ecosystem. And that is exchangeable. It's exchangeable to any one of the cryptocurrencies that are out there. So if you want to go into Bitcoin and mine, let's say, Explorer or aluminum, but you want to diversify, you can go ahead and take these tokens and rewards and convert them to Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever they'd like. But with Bitcoin and Ethereum, you don't have the ability to do that without a huge cost or capital exposure getting in. I mean, an average Bitcoin miner is going to cost you $8,000 to make $3, maybe $4 a day after it's all said and done with your power, electricity, and that. And the miner is only going to last maybe 18 to 24 months. And in the experience we've had in mining, that is the hardest thing, to spend all that money and realize that the technology is outdated.
And your possibility of breaking even is far in the future if you ever do.
Correct. Especially if you're getting involved around halving periods with some of these tokens. So what we did is we just knew there would be a better way. And so if we could supply or solve a supply chain problem for some of these ecosystems that are already out there and running, and they're Fortune 500 companies, they're every day of the meal mining companies that everybody knows the names of them. But if we can solve a problem for them and get them to the underlying assets quicker, cheaper, easier, more importantly, more efficient in the economy to scale, but also the ecosystem and the environment,
the eco-friendly side of it.
Yeah. It's one thing to kind of go mining, and mining has its downsides to everything. I mean, there's no way to basically say I'm mining and not have an issue with the earth or with the ecosystem of the environment. But there are better ways to do it. If you can do a sniper approach instead of a shotgun approach. I mean, it's a much different thing.
Yeah.
And so with our technology, we can actually bring that in. It saves the mining companies a ton of money to extract these minerals. And so if we can give that technology over, and for giving that, we can get a royalty back, which helps our tokenomics out, it's a good win for everybody. So we actually launched the technology later than we did all of the other projects, or at least a few of them. The main reason for it is we needed to get the proven sound partnerships put together, government contracts, and the underlying agreements with the mining company so that we had the revenue to basically put into its own project. But the Explorer token's technically been powered by all of the projects at one point.
And so with that, right, we're talking Explore for the Explorer project within the ecosystem, but then, talk a little bit, because people may or may not know there's a lot of other, you can scan for basically anything, but there's some type of tokens that we may never do, because I've heard you say, for example, we'll probably never do like an iron ore type of project, right? So Explorer, if I'm not mistaken, I don't mean to misspeak here, but Explorer was able to lock down a contract with the Ghanaian government, and they were able to identify multi-millions or possibly billions in reserves.
Yeah. So the technology was actually used by the government to find and allocate the largest iron ore find in Ghana's history. And that was a contract that we signed, we inked, we've been paid for. And that gave them the proof of concept. This not only is one of the largest iron ore deposits that's found in Africa, it's physically the largest one Ghana's ever found. It's enough to bring Ghana into the industrial age, which just says it doesn't happen anymore. And the nice thing about some of these countries are they're third world. I mean,
Yep.
they don't have the technologies that we've had. This deposit would have been found in the United States over a decade ago. And going into some of these regions and that are not as sophisticated, and they're heavily forested.
Yeah, and there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be able to put in place to sustain that type of extraction, right?
Correct.
At the same time.
In some of these areas, they're so dense. You have to understand a lot of the technologies up to this point in time, you physically had to put nodes in the ground to do seismic tests to physically do it. And getting to these areas is really tough. When you can scan it from space, it's game changer.
Yeah. I really love, when I was sitting down and looking at DebtBox, I think, just as a customer in the beginning, this was 8-9 months ago, I bought my first black gold license, and
that was last March.
Yeah, this only 8 months ago, 9 months ago. So it hasn't even been a full year yet.
No, it hasn't.
And it's been an amazing time. You told me about, hey, we're going to have, there's going to be this hosting, and then we're going to also start to create our own debt chain.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people, we just launched the V-Box.
Yep.
Let's maybe take a second. Let's talk about why the V-Box, right, for right now. And then is the V-Box a forever solution? And I have one right here, so people are seeing it, right? Or is the long-term vision still to go to hardware in-home? And also kind of what's the vision? And I know some of the answers, but I want them to hear from you as far as building out that debt chain.
Sure. So a lot of people are actually right now, they're wondering, so what are you mining? What are you getting? The reality is these licenses are giving us a lot of information to build out the debt chain underneath. So by running the license, the node, what's happening is we're getting real-time feedback from the ecosystem and how to develop out what the underlying projects are doing, what the underlying community is doing, how often the licenses are being run. And this allows us to basically get a lot of in-depth detail about the spectrum of how many nodes we have to have in certain areas, where the allocations are, the different projects, how much volume is going through them. This gives us, like I say with everything else, it gives us a sniper approach to basically build out the chain correctly underneath it down the road. And you're getting rewards for doing it. We are giving those rewards for running those licenses. You have to host them. Mm-hmm. So for a period of time, I expected to do it for 2 months, and I did it for a year. We were hosting those internally.
Correct.
Cost prohibitive is just not happening right now. So they need to get out there and physically be hosted by the individual parties. It's going to give us actually more information anyway. The hardware is coming. It has to go through a lot of regulatory issues to basically get through the different countries. So speed to market, the best way to do it is to do virtual node hosting for right now and get it out. So the V-Box is a necessity for us to grow at the pace that we're doing and expand around the world as fast as we are going. And IX is a big helping hand in that problem. It's a good problem to have. But when you expand into 15 new countries in a month, for instance, we can't even get through the regulatory issues of those 15 countries to put new hardware in those jurisdictions that quickly. So a V-Box allows us to basically grow out and do it. The hardware is going to be a necessity down the road. It just is. But until the debt chain is fully developed underneath the scenes, it is a great way for us to basically get the information we need by going virtual.
Now, let me ask you another question. I know I'm here in Utah, and I'm able to kind of go and see some of the operation. I've gone into the office, and I've seen some of the guys, putting the actual machines together and the inner workings and how it's done, and it's amazing to me, right? But I don't want to talk about that. What I want to talk about is kind of the scaling of the DebtBox ecosystem from a human resources side, right? Kind of where were you guys at last year when you started? Where are you at right now? Has the development team grown? Kind of what are you seeing for that vision as far as infrastructure for the community?
Well, customer service started off with one customer service agent, and we started off with 2 programmers. That was last November, September, October, November. After the launch of Black Gold, we did start ramping developers. And the reason for it is we knew we had debt coming, we knew we had grow coming, we knew we had natural gas coming. And so currently right now we're at 27 programmers. Okay. Our office space has tripled in size. And our customer service is 800% larger. It's really easy when you only have one person going to 8, it's 800%. But understand we are continuing to grow. We understand the demand. IX has been great for us. You guys did huge volumes for us last year, but more importantly, you guys are giving us the user base that is coming in that is 1 or 2 licenses. A lot of our internal sales come from family offices and institutional purchases. And so it gives us a much wider wallet holder list, which is important for any ecosystem to be sustainable long term. And it's given us the ability to expand to different countries a lot quicker than we ever could. So I think IX has been great for the whole ecosystem. So I think our sales force has definitely grown. I think our customer service has grown, and our tech IT team definitely has grown.
That's awesome to hear. And so, when we first came in, and I know we were first sitting down, toying with the idea of creating this partnership, right, between the community that I have and the technology and the nodes, the licenses that the debt offers. And just so everybody knows out there is I told you, look, my goal would be to have 10,000 boxes, when we're whether V boxes or boxes or out there, within this next, 18 to 24 months. And I think I didn't really think, not that we wouldn't hit it. I knew we would hit the number, but I didn't think we would do it so quickly. Yeah. And then at the same time, in the last 4 months, 6 months, whatever it's been, we started with Nat G, and then Grow was there kind of launching at the same time. Since then, we launched Loom, XPLR. We just launched the new, you guys just launched the second wave of debt. Mm-hmm. And we're going into January 2023. This week, we have an event in Salt Lake City, and you guys are launching 2 new projects. Yes. Tell us a little bit about, let's go one at a time, but maybe tell us about these projects.
So Blocks is actually a real estate token. It is supported by real estate.
And it's been on the website for a long time, so a lot of questions like, what's Blocks, sir?
So ironically, that project was actually going to be launched last January, February. And we looked at it from a debt counselor's perspective. We felt that the markets were turning. We have the capital to deploy. We've had some amazing capital partners in that venture for a very long time. We've been doing loans. We've been putting together large projects. But it hasn't made sense to tokenize it until there was a good strategy for long-term holding and buying something at a discounted rate, candidly. And so we've been waiting for interest rates to go up. We've been waiting for the slowdown in the economy. We thought we were going to get that during COVID, candidly, and that's why we were seeing it up.
Sped up
and
in
it did
COVID.
The opposite. Yeah. And so we have a ton of pent-up demand for Blocks, as you can imagine, when you've had all these real estate professionals in different sectors of real estate so excited about that project for a year. It's very exciting for us. That project will have a roadmap to it, and a lot of that will be announced, obviously, by the time this comes out.
Yeah.
On Friday, a few days from now, it's going to show you that it's much more than just real estate. It's going to be dealing with a full transformation of the real estate flow. Instead of dealing with title companies and dealing with banks and dealing with finance, it's trying to basically blend it all together. It's going to be tokenizing real estate into a process that me and you could come to an agreement on price. We don't need to have a real estate agent. We don't even have to have an escrow company. If you tokenize it, think about just being able to deal with it one-on-one and get to a point where I could transfer you knowing it was going to be covered one asset and I get another back in return. Yeah. I'm paying you in crypto and I'm getting an NFT of the actual property or the title asset back. Yeah. And so at the end of the day, it's going to take some time, but the roadmap is to basically simplify one of the largest industries in the world, which is the underlying assets, real estate.
And sometimes the end user, or if you're a seller, you're like, well, how do I even list my property? How I do it? They make it very complicated to do a real estate transaction. And I think it's like that by nature, right? Because there's obviously a lot of individuals or brokerages.
There is a sector that will hate this, and
I think that's like any technology, right? When you start to disrupt it, there's a lot of people that are, oh, that's not going to work. You get a lot of hate on it. It's ridiculed, and then finally they're like, oh, you know what? This might be better for my clients.
If you look at, 3% buy, 3% sell, your mortgage officer makes money, your title company makes money, your recording fees make money. There's a lot of waste in the real estate transaction just as a whole. Well, that means that there's a ton of money that can go to support the economics of a token.
Correct.
And so as that process gets built out, I do think blocks is a long, sustainable venture. And the reason for it is it's always been here.
Yeah.
Everybody's wanted to have real estate, whether it's a farm or whether it's that first piece of property you built a tent on, for goodness sakes, or you parked your RV on. Everybody has the desire for the American dream of owning real estate.
Correct.
And a lot of the wealth around the world has actually been done with real estate. And so I think if we can basically streamline the process of how the real estate flow works, and if we can save some money for the end consumer, again, it has to be a win-win-win. And if we can come up with that model and change the supply chain of the actual transaction of real estate, it'll be amazing. And it's been happening.
One question on it. I'm not sure, and we probably will get it when, further down the road, but maybe to have at least a small answer on it. A lot of the, let's say, these underlying projects or the transactions, would that be, and I don't know the real estate market, so it might be an ignorant question, but will we be able to globalize it? Meaning, Block's going to be more of a US based revenue generating project, or are we going to be able to go into other, regions of the world?
So just like with Black Gold, we started off with one well, then we went to two. It has to start somewhere.
Correct.
And so we're obviously from the United States. It makes most sense to launch the pilot program here. This is something that can duplicate around the world very quickly.
Yeah.
And so we have to basically start in a sector. We are starting in the United States. That does not mean we're staying here.
Okay.
And so great question. But physically, we want to be the largest of every sector without owning anything. You got to look at that.
Yeah.
Just like, Uber, they're the largest taxi cab service in the world. They don't own a single car.
Correct.
Airbnb, largest renter of property, the largest hotelier basically, without owning one piece of real estate.
Yep.
If we can basically go into real estate and control that market, we can be the largest in the real estate sector as well without owning a single house. We just get processing fees and we make a token around it so that everybody can participate in the rise of that. And so if we can get that win-win-win, that's the best thing for the whole ecosystem.
Great. That's good. All right. So now let's switch gears here a little bit. The second project that we'll be launching over the weekend, Bev.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about that. I know it's kind of a smaller project. I saw some really cool stuff when we were down at the office and you were showing me a video and I was just like, what? Like the acceleration at which the tokenomics or the burn is going to come in is just, in me, it's crazy, right? And if you're watching this video now in the pre-sale stage before the 24th of January, like get your BEV license, right? Like that's what I feel, because I feel it's going to be any one of the other projects out there, but with nitrous oxide in it, right? You're going to push that nitrous oxide because of what the tokenomics are going to be doing.
So BEV is going to be probably the most interesting. I call it the sleeping giant or the unicorn of our ecosystem this year. We're trying out a new tokenomics. We've loved Black Gold's ability. In fact, if you're looking at this video now, you can go look at Black Gold on December 31st to today, and we're going to probably be up 40 to 50% in a few weeks. The reason is halving. When you have revenues coming in and you're basically limiting the supply that's on the other side of it, it has a way of working itself up. And in our projects, we try to basically build these revenues that they're very secure, they're very stable. And so if we can continue to increase that, it goes. BEV's different. And the reason for it, it's the first project that we have live contracts first day with revenues day one. It's also the most hyper deflationary token we've ever done.
Yep.
We're trying out, instead of annual halving, we're doing quarterly quartering. So we'll actually be dropping 25% every single quarter of the EGI pool in BEV.
Wow.
I say it's a smaller project.
And that's exciting. If people didn't get that, right? Like right now in the other projects, I've been through just one burn of Nat G and the initial burns of the newer projects. Yeah. But now watching the halving of Black Gold, which is the second.
Correct.
And the amount of token that's being minted compared to the amount of burn that we have from the royalties is amazing. And when you take that and you multiply it by, well, I guess 4, a quarterly
It's basically 100%.
It's 100%.
In a really good way. It kind of is, but it's a quarter every quarter.
It's a quarter every quarter. I like that.
So imagine a project with $36 million in contract signed for next year. Done. The cash flows are going. Cash flows actually started on January 1st. It's an operational business. It's distributing beverages. So there are some alcoholic lines. There are some non-alcoholic lines. In general, we're not dealing with one company. We're dealing with multiple day one. And so you're getting the burn from royalties. You're getting the burn from the tokenomics. We're actually not even taking a liquidity pool or an EGI rebuild in this token. It's 10% full burn. And It's all about getting it out of the ecosystem as quick as possible. We want to do this. Jake and I were actually kind of going back and forth with the physical side with Roy and Chad. And we looked at it. How do we show everybody how powerful these burns really are when it takes so long to get to them?
Yeah.
The first burn is actually very nominal. It's minimal. And the reason for it is it happens so quickly and people aren't used to a set price yet. We just barely got on exchanges in most periods of time. So they're not seeing the upside in a value proposition really. Yeah. That second one is different. And so what if we could actually show someone a project that from A to Z in the first 12 months, you got 4 of those opportunities to see what happens. Then you can look at the rest of the whole ecosystem and say, wow, what happens right after burn? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the amount of token we're taking out of the ecosystem is incredible. And that doesn't matter if we're dealing with natural gas or aluminum. We are ahead in every mechanism we've ever looked at for burns. And I think that's important to kind of
understand. I think it's very important because some people, and I'm gonna bring up one subject here really quickly, and not to shift gears, but rentals, right? We never say never, but we just discontinued rentals for the IX community for Black Gold.
Correct.
We have about another 30 days for Nat G, and we'll have another 60 days or so on Grow.
Correct.
And so by the end of quarter 1 of 2023, our current base of rentals will be 0, but we have new projects launching, which will bring up a new rental pool, right?
Correct.
And so what I want to talk about is people don't understand the concept of token accumulation. They look at IX or they look at debt or they look at X node and they say, they look at it and they try to do like an ROI on it, which is probably, and excuse me for anybody that's out there that's done this before, but it's probably the dumbest thing anybody could do. Because if you rented a Black Gold in, for example, November, December timeframe, you got 30 days, you were before the halving, so you were about $17.50 in token per day. And if you sold it on a daily basis, they were probably at a very low price, 0.004. Right now, like you said, in the last couple of weeks since halving, it's gone up 40, maybe almost potentially 50%. Yeah. And so if you would have just waited a few weeks, you could have exited at a better or converted it at a better position, right? Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about token accumulation and why it's important to hey, if you buy a rental, don't be trying to cash flow it and compound it, because we see a lot of people trying to do that.
I like it.
In the short,
don't say that.
it's healthy, right? It's very healthy for the ecosystem because we're going to have short-term holders, we're going to have long-term holders, but I try to tell people, look, there's value in holding at the same time, and a lot of people, don't get it.
Yeah, so we actually talked a lot about how to get the entry point, how to get someone's toe, in the water in not only your ecosystem but ours. And we did a pilot program of rentals. It was something that we looked at and said, let's try it between now and the end of the year. And I was unaware of the beautiful impact that would have on the ecosystem. I get hit up on all the time on the Telegram and the Discord. These rentals are just hurting the token price. They're hurting the token price. What you're missing is the amount of tokens that we're able to burn with the royalties that are coming in on the opposite side of it. We have burnt billions of tokens in almost every single one of our projects, more than we ever could have without rentals. And if you are an accumulator, it doesn't matter. Because whether it's kind of like owning a house. I mean, do you care if the market drops by 10%? Well, not unless you're selling it.
Honestly, yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If it goes back up by 40% 2 years from now, do you care? Well, no, not unless you're selling it.
It's exciting. My house is I'm up 60% of my equity, but I'm not selling it. I don't plan on selling it for 20 years. So okay, great. In 20 years, it could be down 40%. So
I think a good healthy mix in the ecosystem of people that need to sell it, want to sell it, please do. I never want to discourage anybody from selling. But I do want to basically let everybody know that there is a huge benefit for holding. And the benefit is you get to go out at a different price point purely based off the organic tokenomics that are underneath it. For instance, I mean, a black gold license, I get up all the time. What did that mine originally? It was about 42,000 tokens a license.
A day.
And, you know, if you rented that for 30 days, you could have sold it then. It would have been $2. That's honestly what it would have made.
$2.
$2.
Yeah.
But what would that 42,000 token a year later have been?
It's probably like $400, right? More.
So
on my calculator.
So understand that a lot of these, you know, one license would have created almost $20,000. You would have held the token all year.
Wow.
And a lot of these licenses went out for $1,000 to $1,500 in the original cycle. But it wouldn't have had you sold all the token based off of what the price was doing at that time. I don't ever like looking at ROI, and everybody looks at it ROI if they're short-term figures. The reason for it is you're purchasing something that is perpetual. You're purchasing something. I don't know how you can even do ROI if you're being honest with yourself and how you're looking at it. Because how do you do ROI when it's a one-time purchase and it mines for over a decade?
Yeah.
There is no way to do it. So you can fake it out. You're going to lie to yourself. You're going to lie to your mother and your father or whoever else you got involved, because you really can't do that. We are giving you rewards for helping us build out something that is different that no one's ever done. That information is vital. So we're giving those tokens out as rewards to do that. But holding them as we are growing is beneficial for everybody.
And I know, like, even for, I guess everybody is at their own period. Like, everybody has their own financial needs, right?
Sure.
You could think you're going to hold for the next few years, and all of a sudden you have an emergency, and I have my debt token that's at a really good price right now. I can say, well, I need to, and you know, it's what you need. And what I love about debt compared to a lot of programs that I've seen out there, it's 100% on the blockchain, and it's based on smart contracts. And so it's not, you know, Jason or anybody from the debt council in the middle of the night at 1 a.m. releasing withdrawals, right? And we've seen that a lot through my industry. They say, oh, we're going to do this daily reward type of thing, but they end up creating some type of system where, you know, they just end up keeping all the money, they do a rug pull, and they run off, right? Where what I've seen and what I loved is from day one, at least since I've been involved, it's 100% automated. And that's what I was looking for. I was looking for a product that was blockchain based on and automated, because I didn't want anybody out there trying to stop people. Maybe the price is low when you're cashing out, but hey, at least you're still able to convert into USDT and send it to your Binance and get it into your bank account. So I think, you know, let's talk a little bit about kind of the importance for you in that, right? In making debt a sustainable project, a sustainable ecosystem for everybody. I
think there's a lot of misnomers in you know, crypto startups, and you know, everybody's like, oh, it's a pump and dump, and they're not wrong in a lot of case scenarios. I think Uniswap put out a report, and it's a very ugly one for our industry. Candidly, it was over 97% of tokens listed on Uniswaps were pump and dumps.
Wow!
And so it's a valid concern, candidly. And, you know, I can't disregard it without actually going back and showing you how we have done our stuff. And then you look at the competitors in the industry. So my biggest goal is to get people to an exchange as quick as possible. If that takes longer than 90 days, there is a problem. We do try to quote about 90 days for turn, because it takes time. Why does it take time? Well, I could put it on exchange today, but everybody just got their token. They don't want to sell it.
Correct.
If we had a pool of token and we were doing, you know, say an initial coin offering or something like that, we have a pool as a company to do that.
But you guys have the fair launch protocol.
We have a fair launch protocol. So we don't have any token to put on exchange. But why don't you put it on the exchange in a day or two? Well, what coin am I going to do that with? Nothing's mined yet.
Correct.
And so the beautiful part about what we are doing is it allows everybody to have the same access to the exchange at the same exact time. And so some people may buy 10 licenses, some may buy 1, some may buy 20. That's fine. That's fair, because they all came in for what they decided to do for their own
what they could. Yeah.
What they could. But that doesn't mean the guy that came in with 20 should have a better advantage than the guy that came in for 1.
Correct.
And so what I look at is if we can basically mine immediately, put it into your wallet, get it out of the piggy bank, put it into your wallet, your control. That's something a lot of companies and other blockchain projects don't do. They want to hold it back. They want to say it's It's yours, but they keep it in some wallet that you have no control over. You don't have your own seed words. You don't have your own protection of saying, I want to withdraw. They control that part of it. We want to get you guys out of the piggy bank so you guys can do those types of transactions immediately. We actually allow peer-to-peer trading day one in every project, or when you hit the 250 minimums.
Correct.
But once you get to 250, you can pull it out. You can go trade that with anybody on a peer-to-peer basis immediately. We encourage you to go do that if that's what you needed to do. But the reality is it takes a while. It does kind of expand out. We were very shocked that Aluminum Explorer were able to get on in under 40 days. That's very unique. That was actually the fastest one we've ever been able to do, purely because of the excitement in that of not only your ecosystem, but mine, and getting that on. I hope to always break those types of records. But if it doesn't happen, we will always mandate basically a 90-day or less to get on that first exchange. We want people to go.
Awesome.
And we have enough token at that point in time, because we are mining as well, to make that happen.
Awesome. You brought up seed phrases, or owning your own crypto, right? Correct. Getting out of the piggy bank, going into your actual wallet. And over the last couple of weeks, we've had some challenges with some bad actors. You guys went under a security review with a very well-known cybersecurity firm, and they came back with basically, locking down the system, protecting the users. And I think a lot of people right now going into this weekend there's a little bit of struggles right now, because we just enabled mandatory 2FA, verifying your email, verifying your phone number, and we have a global footprint. And sometimes, hey, the email's not sending, they're not getting it, or the SMS isn't getting there, or something. And what I guess what I want to say to everybody that's having trouble or may have trouble in the setup process and getting their account, it's because the number one most important thing for at least me, and I know for you, is the security of that token. Even if it takes you a day or two and you're frustrated, if your token is safe, at least your token is still there, when you finally get set up. So let's talk a little bit about security.
So I really actually thought, being in crypto, I mean,
and I sorry to cut you off, but I know you've never been involved in the network marketing duplication side of the relationship between the new person and the upline mentor. And so that's been dynamics, trying to find a happy medium.
Yes.
And so I know you have your own opinion of it, but don't share your seed phrases. Don't share your password.
It's standard crypto. I mean, it's kind of like if you share your seed words, you have to understand, it's not even like you putting your debit card in someone's hand and give them a PIN. It's worse than that. You put your credit card in the ATM, you withdrew $500, you dropped your debit card with your PIN number written on the back and $500 in cash right in front of it, and you went to lunch. That is how bad it is. It is standard crypto 101. You do not ever share your keys or your seed words. It just isn't done. And we've been nicely asking the community in every newsletter since last June to implement 2FA as quickly as possible. And
because it was optional it was optional all year. And I know we maybe you can talk to numbers, a couple hundred people that had it enabled.
Yeah, well, from our side, we're about 98%. From your side, it was
like 1%.
It was 1% to 2%.
Yeah.
It wasn't very much. And it started to get to a point where bad actors were able to compromise those wallets. And the reason for it is they put up what's called phishing sites. Those phishing sites look like they're going to IX. They're not really going to IX. They're going to another site. And you're typing in, thinking you're logging into IX, and you're giving them your username and your password. What do they do with that? They now go to the real IX site and they put in your username and password, and they reveal the seed word. By doing that, you don't think you did anything wrong. You did everything right to try to protect yourself. But without that 2FA enabled, they were able to get to your seed word. Once that happens, there is no changing it until you reset your whole wallet. And I say this wasn't an orchestrated event because we can't prove that it was. But I can tell you 71 of these phishing sites have been identified at this point in time through the security experts. Our site's locked down. We've had zero penetration to our ecosystem. We've had zero penetration to yours, other than they had the password and the login credentials to get in there. And so it's locking that down. And I know 2FA is a pain, and I really understand even the delays for withdrawal. It takes 2 to 5 minutes inside your account, even to transfer or to withdrawal. There's a reason for it. That is long enough that a phishing site can't re-enter that if you are on a fake site. And so unfortunately—
So people don't understand this. Why are things so slow? Why are things, it used to be automated, it used to be quick, and I used to be able to see my balance reflect. And so people, like, it's caused this whole customer support uproar, right? Where they are like, okay, just be patient, wait. It's because we're trying to implement better security measures for you, because you're not being safe with your password. You're not being safe unknowingly, right? And it's because there's a lot of people also attacking IX debt. They're going out there putting these phishing sites on, or they're going out there and hacking or falsely representing that they're from the company and they want to help people. And in our community, that's just what we do. We go out and help other people kind of set up their accounts. But in this, it's like, you should never, ever let someone set your account. And if you did, don't do a withdrawal. Go reset your wallet immediately. We have a very easy process to reset your wallet. Reset it, get a new seed word, get a new keys, and be done with it. Yeah. Because that way, even if someone helped you get it to the point where it's set up, before there's any money to take, you can go ahead and just reset your wallet. Get it over. That way 100% it's done. If you have money in your wallet, you can move it out. You can transfer it. Actually, we have a new feature out that you can actually, for a one-time fee, you can transfer from your old wallet to your new wallet and get new seeds, and it's no longer compromised. We're trying to make it as simple and easy. I suggest people do that once a year. Yeah. That's standard crypto. I change my wallets out once a year. It's just something I do. But I think it's encouraged for everybody. I think you should. And so with crypto, it's different. With the direct sales company, and that it's definitely complicated, because it's definitely, it's my uncle or it's my brother. I've known this guy for 10 years. There are bad actors, and as much as you think you can trust people, it's been proven you can't. Yep. And as much as we like to have this be an optional upgrade, we have to force it, because if you're not going to take care of your wallet, we're going to try your best to make sure you are taking care of your wallet. Correct. All right, so we're coming up on our hour mark here, if you can believe it or not. And we talked a little bit about what's coming up for this first quarter, launching now in January. Where do you see us, ending? If we had this conversation a year from now, where do you see us a year from now? With our partnership with IX as well, and also with debt as a whole as the ecosystem.
Well, let me start with debt as an ecosystem. Debt as an ecosystem, we're growing leaps and bounds. Our projection level for next year is a 4x from what we did last year. We believe we can get there purely because of, and that's the amount of projects, that's the amount of transactions. We do our data a little bit differently than you do. But we believe we can get there based off the amount of projects we are kicking out. We've had a vote with the community. We've actually want to try to get this more decentralized as the time goes on. The Debt Council is a temporary thing. A lot of people are asking me, why is the Debt Council there? Well, when you start a project that has physical mechanisms to it, you're always going to have human interaction with it. That is a little different. But the tokenomics side of it and the digital side, we are actually trying to get that as close to fully decentralized as possible over the course of time. When a project starts, you need that hand holding, but there is a point in time you can release it out. So voting was actually introduced in September. And we've done actually several votes. It's actually changed tokenomics of 2 projects, ironically. And we let the node holders decide that. We don't, at the Debt Council, whether you vote right or wrong, we don't really have a say. Once we put a vote out, that is what we're doing. We had a vote to change tokenomics of gold. It was 100%. I mean, the Debt Council is not going to override that. We're gonna migrate it and go to a new contract and go. We've had a vote to release pre-launches of debt a little early. They were not going to start mining, but do pre-sales. Overwhelmingly, people wanted to buy them early or have the opportunity to buy them early, make sure they got one. We sold out debt, all 15,000 licenses in the first 12 months in under 45 days. We are down to 70-something licenses right now, less than under 30, about 42 days right now. So I have a feeling coming out of the event a few days from now, we will be sold out of debt for the second year.
Yeah. And I think people are going to be kicking themselves because they didn't get one when it was available.
I agree. And that's a fun one. And we can kind of talk a little bit about it and kind of go time and time again. But the biggest benefits of debt is not the tokens or what it's mining. It's the opportunity it's giving you for the new projects. You're going to get 5 airdrops at pre-launch prices for blocks. You're going to get 1 for BEV. Those licenses can go up by 3 or 4 or 5,000 each.
Correct.
and you can buy them at pre-launch prices for up to 6 months afterwards.
Yeah.
And so it allows you to kind of see where a project goes and always be able to come back and buy it. I mean, that could save you the whole license price in the first 2 projects we're releasing right now.
And that's amazing. I think, Jason, what you guys have put together, and I know there's a lot of people behind it, right? There's a lot of supporting individuals, experts in their field that you probably depend on a day-to-day basis, because it's not just, we had Jake on a couple weeks ago. We have you on. We'll have another one of your partners here on in the future. We're going to do this event. And so maybe talk a little bit about, just to kind of close up, what's that support system been like? Because I think some people think, and even for IX, right? A lot of people see and look at me like, oh, Joe's built this amazing company by himself. But it's not that I've done it by myself. There's a lot of people behind me that are actually supporting me, and they caught on to the vision.
So you kind of talked about the vision of debt in general. I kind of said we're looking at about a 4x of our multipliers. And we talked about debt and some of the ecosystem going decentralized. We do believe this partnership's been really good. It's actually been almost 10 months. In that 10-month period of time, I think I originally looked at you and you said, I want to hit to $100 million. I actually don't know what you were at when we started, but I looked at you and I said, you better double the number.
Yeah.
I actually came out of Africa and you thought I was nuts. I think
you're nuts every day, but
I think you hit it. You actually announced a number I think it was in.
It was just a call. It was a call that we had did.
And so, you've done that. I think it's a great roadmap for you to have that projection move forward. And, we want to basically assist you as much as you guys are assisting us. We want to basically work together, and it's been a good partnership for us. I see the partnership growing and the input we're getting from your community, although some of it's a little harsh from time to time on Discord.
Yeah.
I love critics. Critics actually are the best way for us to improve ourselves. They're not always wrong. You look at some of the harsh comments, it gives us better customer support. You look at some of the criticisms we're getting. We want to be better any way we can. I look at it as very constructive. I love haters. It's something I do actually love, and I thrive on it. Some people look at it differently. I love to soak it in and say, okay, I can do that, and then we'll get them quiet until they come up with the next thing. And sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, but I think in general it kind of helps the communities, and I think that's what we kind of bring together. And I like how easy it is, even though you have a big network. We can move very quickly between the Debt Council and yourself, and working more in line in 2023 as we bring you on the Debt Council. I think it really is going to help coordinate some of these launches a little bit better and be more in unison.
Awesome. Well, with that, guys, thank you so much. It's been episode 4 of our IX podcast. Jason, thanks for being here, and appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.